Hello, dear listeners of Teacher Karigo.Njige channel. Today I have brought to you the novel or beloved novel by Chinua Achebe called No Longer at Ease. This novel was written in the year of 1960 after independence of Nigeria. Chinua Achebe wrote this novel to educate the Africans, especially the readers or the students who study English language and literature in English in Africa, especially on the issue of social and political criticism in Africa. Also, Chinua Achebe wrote this novel, No Longer at Ease, so as to criticize the African government on the issue of exploitation, racism, and corruption. Okay, dear listeners, today I have my friend called Magie Kambai from Zambia. Magie Kambai from Zambia, you are warm welcome in my YouTube channel, so as to tell the listeners and the viewers, so as to get something or to learn something about No Longer at Ease by Chinua Achebe. Okay. My sister, Magie Kambai from Zambia, you are warm welcome to say something about No Longer at Ease. Okay, you are welcome.
God, you see how Okonko's grandson, Obi Ajulu. Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm doing by Chinua Achebe. The setup of the book is in colonial Nigeria, and it was written in the 1960s. And so it's part of Chinua Achebe's trilogy. It comes after Things Fall Apart, and it precedes The Arrow of God. You see how Okonko's grandson, Obi Ajulu, Okonko, navigates life through the colonial period and all. And so I should also make mention that this book talks about the Igbo culture, so Igbo Kwenu. And so the book starts with a trial. Obi is in trial, and from there now we go back to how Obi was given a scholarship to go and study abroad in Britain, because the country was colonized by Britain, by the British, and so they needed to know how to navigate their life through in that colonial period with their colonial masters. And so we see how the Umofian community, came together and picked on Obi to go and study law in Britain. And so this is a group of people that left their villages, and then they came to Lagos, and they formed this Umofian community because they come from the same village. So they more like they come together and form this group that helps people for their good. And so we see how Obi Okonko is awarded this scholarship to go and study law in Britain. But then when he goes to Britain, instead of studying law, he studies English. He majors in English. And so while in London, he meets a very beautiful girl by the name of Clara Okeke. So they meet at a dance, and from that time, when they come back to Nigeria, Obi Okonko is now torn apart between his culture and also the British culture, the Western culture, which he has been exposed to in the 4 years that he went to study English. And so he is now conflicted. But then we see how Obi Okonko falls in love with Clara, and they love each other. But then Clara opens up to him to say she was a an Osu. So we're taught in the book to say an Osu is more like an outcast. So her clan or her family was more like a family of outcasts, a family of slaves. And so in the Igbo culture, one is not allowed to marry an Osu. And so that also we see it really brought a big conflict in the book, because you see this is a person that Obi loves, and then everyone rejects the person. So you cannot marry that person because that person is an Osu, And then we see how the Umuofian community also, the Umuofian Progressive Union is also informed of Obi's intentions of marrying Clara, and so they opposed it greatly. We see also how the father, who was a Christian, Isaac Okonko, he was a Christian. He also actually, opposed the relationship, and it kept me wondering to say, as Christians, and just opposed to, as long as somebody is a person, you don't really need to look at somebody as an outcast, because we believe everybody was made in the image of God and we're all equal in the image of God. But when we see Isaac Okonko in this book, objecting to the marriage of the son. So this one, this point really, it brought out the point that regardless of being a Christian, he was a man of the tribe to the core. And so then we see how, all these things started just unfolding, and Obi was taught to say he cannot marry the love of his life. So in as much as it was breaking, in as much as it was hurtful, Obi has to tell Clara to say this is what everybody thinks. They decide to end the relationship, and actually Clara now discloses to Obi to say she was pregnant. And so they sat down and sought for a solution, because the relationship could not continue, and they decided to do an abortion. Obi had to get some money, on credit from someone. I think Sam, I had to get money from Sam, and then I paid someone to perform that abortion on Clara. So it didn't really go well. There were complications, and so Clara got very sick, and she was in the hospital, and she never wanted anything to do with Obi. And so Obi would try to come and see her, but she would not be interested in anything. And so after that, then we see how Obi's life now takes a turn. He's someone who studied abroad, and just that fact put him in a very peculiar position with his people. And so we see how he has this lifestyle that he was supposed to fund, regardless of him working in the civil service. He had, this lifestyle that really needed money, and besides that huge amount that they got for Clara's abortion really costed him so much, and he started, he started needing money, like he was now in need of money. And so we see how he started getting bribes, because he was part of the education board, and so he started getting bribes, because before that we see how Obi would stand firm and just refuse bribes, because in the book there's a man who actually approached him with a bribe so that he could admit the sister on the scholarship, but then he would consider the sister for the scholarship, but then he refused. And after refusing, the sister, actually also approached him with, said, I will use my body so that I can get this scholarship, but obviously refused. But after, these problems that he was encountering in his life, he decided to take a bribe. And he decided to take bribes, he started taking bribes to just fund his life, and also to fund his lifestyle, and also just to pay back the credits that he had. He got entangled in that life of bribe, and so when he decided to take the last bribe, then he was caught, because the last bribe that he took was marked money, and it was part of a sting operation that was just trying to uproot corruption in the system. And so we see how he got conflicted, he got caught in that web, he was persecuted. So we see how Chinua Achebe really blends the titles of corruption, influence of education, the Western culture, and also the Igbo tradition in something that is very interesting. And so I believe that he really did a good job in that. And also some things that really stood out for me, the characters the characters and the story, they were so engaging. And I also learned a lot from the Umuofian Progressive Union, because you see, I think it's very important for a community to come together and help its people, achieve something, or just to meet a common good. Because you see, there's some things like some things that we can achieve together. And so and now I think in Zambia we see people like communities like alumni from the University of Zambia, or maybe some schools would come together and maybe put money together and help someone. And I think this spirit should continue, because at least it builds us as a community. Another thing is this book is very relatable. I think anyone can really relate, because you see we can see ourselves, I think, in Obi. This was a very promising young man. He goes to study and he comes back with these ideologies and everything, but he keeps making mistakes. And he was lucky because the people or the union, always kept forgiving him, because even when he faced trial, they still came together to see how they can help him. So he was really lucky, but then the choices that he kept making always, would always just let people down. So I think as young people, we should also learn something from this, to say sometimes some things lie in our choices. It's about the choices that we make. We need to make a difference. And so then it also brings out the corruption in Africa. It's so sad, because you see the way corruption is really portrayed in this book, and the way the British in the book would talk about corruption, would talk about corrupt Africans, would talk about this and that. And I think it's not right to just say Africa, because I believe corruption is everywhere. Because just recently we've heard from international news how some ministers we apprehended for corruption, for corrupt activities. And so I believe corruption is just inhuman. Like it shouldn't really be just should be characterized with a certain group of people. It's in human beings, and people should fight that. So it's not just that it's just Nigerians, but I think it's everywhere. It is something that we need to put our hands together and just fight. I think also the influence of education. When he came back from Britain, you see how his lifestyle just changed. One day he was called for, I think, a party, and he shows up in a sleeveless shirt, and everyone was dressed in this Igbo, this Igbo outfits and everything. So, and people kept forgiving him. People kept forgiving all his mistakes, and then we see also how he would just maybe how he would just be treated in the people. Because I think this one really hit home for me, because growing up, when we were young, back in the village, when someone would come from university and they come back to the village, just the treatment that they receive, people would have to kill a chicken for them, because the chicken then it just used to be on another level. I know now we eat chicken almost every day, but then the chicken would just be it was just for special occasions, maybe Christmas, maybe New Year, or just these special occasions. If you want to celebrate something, you kill a chicken. So then you come from university, they'll kill a chicken for you, just give you that special treatment. And I believe this is the treatment that Obi also received with these people. And also we also see how the traditions and the Western culture, how just that conflict of how to combine the two. Because when he was studying in Britain, he had this picture of Nigeria. He said, when I go home, all those things. But then when he got home, the picture was different. And so he tries to incorporate everything, the lifestyle and everything, and we see him getting a bride. And so one of the funny things that really stood out for me was the prayer that Sister Mary was pointed at to pray. And so in her prayer, I'll just read a few things that really made me laugh in her prayer. And it reads, O God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and God of Jacob, the beginning and the end, without you we do nothing. The great river is not big enough for you to wash your hands in. You have the yam and you have the knife. We cannot eat unless you cut us a piece. We are like ants in your sides. We are like little children who only wash their stomach when they bath, leaving their back dry. What sort of a prayer is this? I really laugh. So it's a book that also incorporates humor and just so much wisdom. So I was so happy to read this book, and I hope you've also learned something from the book.
Yes,
so if you read the book, what lessons did you learn? What really stood out for you? Let's share, and don't forget to comment in the comment section down below what really stood out for you in the book, and what lessons, or if at all you'd like to read it or something, because I know these classic books are really a foundation of African literature. And today we are able to read a lot of literature because we are standing on the shoulders of giants. because at least the people that were there before us wrote good and did a good job. So I think we'll end the review here. Thank you so much for watching up to this far, and I'll see you.
Thank you, Magie Kambai from Zambia, for your narration to this beloved novel, No Longer It Is by Chinua Achebe. I think, dear listeners, especially students, college students, university students, you have learned a lot to this narration of Nigerian author Chinua Achebe, No Longer At Ease. If you have questions, you can ask or you can write below this video. I assist you to subscribe to my YouTube channel so as to get different information about little books. Okay, thank you for listening me, and thank you for listening the narrator from Zambia, Magie Kambai.